So I don't think I took as much as I, like the dosage wise, as strong as I did the last time. Mm-hmm. But even the weaker version of it, with me being me and being more within my faculties to describe things, to write things down, to be like, oh, I know this, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this.
Right.
Yes, the songs of eternity. Like, I don't have to like be stuck on, I'm like, of course it's that. Like, move on. Of course the song lines of reality are made from the flower of life. What do you think you're talking about when you say flower of songs, you idiot? Like, this is a Ah Xoc Kin being ruthless with me, you know? Stop it, you're being an imbecile. Like,
yeah, I hear that voice here too. Yes. I recognize it.
Like, yes. I'm sorry. And then it's kind of funny. So I think now I'll read some of the stuff that I was getting when I was writing notes.
Okay.
I'm trying to start from where it kind of begins. You know, I write stuff. I'm always writing stuff, right? So I think this is part of being like, is SatoriD, just like when I was saying about writing being a practice and tool for processing reality. In the same sense, SatoriD is not a distraction in my life, but it's a way in which I harmonize and process information and reality. Mm-hmm. So I was writing notes before, right? And it was the Satoridelic visions calling Ah Xoc Kin.
Right.
And I actually did a song recently. There's this new song that I heard, and it just got me to sing some lyrics to it, or this spoken word poem. And it's like playing with calling Ah Xoc Kin, and I was just like, I did it because it felt right. But then later, you know, I'm like, fuck, like, did I just create a cosmic crime? I mean no harm.
Dude.
I mean no disrespect. So then I go and I consult the I Ching, because, you know, I was giving you advice. I'm like, fuck, I better start like really doing my homework. And so I go and it was all about discernment. But then I dug deeper into like the original reading of I forgot what the I Ching was. Mm-hmm. The wow was later. 21. I Ching hexagram 21. Discernment. Uh-huh. And then there's a little thing called figure it out. For those who administer laws should emulate the ancient kings in the first clarifying them before executing them, in order to avoid mistakenly injured life. Let me read that again. Those who administer laws should emulate the ancient kings in their first clarifying them before executing them, in order to avoid mistakes injuring life. And, you know, we're talking about like defining the game,
yes,
making sure that it's clear, like,
yes,
whether the game, the rules of the game, it's still in flux, and all this kind of stuff to avoid, I think, these cosmic hiccups.
Yes.
And so this was stuff I was getting before I did the mescaline, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really 3 days before taking the mescaline, I'm reading the I Ching. I'm looking at the null wall signs.
Yeah.
Like for me, the null walls are like the conscious wave of the day. So it's like taking the weather. You
right.
Look your finger and you say, which way is the wind blowing today? Is it all right that I do cosmic giggles? I don't want them to blow right into my face. You know, it's like spitting into the wind.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how I view that. And so I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I you know, on the show, I'm telling everybody, you know, be more attent and all this kind of stuff. I think that's really important with music, with your whole life, everything, anything, your intent, you choosing. I think that's the whole message of Handwords and Beowulf, that article that you wanted to read about free will, Handwords, Beowulf, what the weird, how they first forged that word weird, and how they were using it in that poem to express like mechanics of dreamtime, reality, whatever.
Right.
And the thing is like, this is the thing with disembodied poetics, is like it has a certain ring, and it kind of rings for eternity. It's still there. So okay.
Yes.
Well, that may not just be my silly mind playing tricks on me. That might be actually something. So, you know, I'm doing all this work beforehand. That's all to say that I think this is what helps when I finally, under the influence of mescaline, that it creates more depth. Like, because after I got over the nausea, I was able to do, because I'm telling you, like, oh yeah, don't worry about everything, they're all harmonic, and I'm like, maybe I should really check the code. I've been doing all this math by hand. I'm like, let me get a calculator out and see if I'm doing it right. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it correctly. And then that's when the next lesson kind of like, I had all that stuff that I think what I was telling you in the chat were like messages for you, you know, like these doubts, these like, you know, where we're going, and everything that you were saying is like kind of like waves of like messages that I got. And then like what I told you, the stuff for me is like because there was another part of the discernment when I dug in deeper to the hexagram.
Yeah.
And what was the phrase? Like figuring it out. And it also reminded me of like reading the writing on the wall. I talked about that in the last Psychedelic Sundays. But anyways, it says figure it out. But the more ancient translation of it was something about biting through it.
Oh, right.
And it said the only way you get to the next spot is by biting through it. And then it went into this whole like imagery, like back in the day, like there was literally chewing on something. Like that's why they used the metaphor to bite through it. Is like to finally get through the outer like surface and into the core. Right. And so that's why this poetic language of chewing on it, like chewing on an idea, and this type of stuff springs from that the poetics of it. And so using something literal, a literal mechanism of reality, but also how that could speak more to the dimensions of what's going on. And so when we're talking about the rounds of ideas, and then we're talking about what I figured, or how I think the personal calendar, the Mayan count, the Ah Xoc Kin, the one that I told you about, and the ratios are for human gestation. It seems like a lot of creative work and getting to concepts follows the same mechanics. Like you need to digest the information, you need to chew on it, you need to chew, you need to bite through it, and then once you get there, you still need a time for it to go through in your stomach, to digest. And then during that time, you know, when I make that poetic line, time, that's how we get wine. Right. And it's just like, don't worry, like it needs to ferment, it needs to just do its thing. Like it's like watching a pot boil. Like the more you want to do it, the longer it seems. Yes. Yeah. So all of that stuff that I was putting in my head before I got there. And then I'm talking about the stellar serpent, right? Yes. That's also 2-3 is the cosmic tone of like going beyond duality into like the Trinity. Oh. And there was I think something too in that sense, because I think all this stuff kind of like primes your mind in the right set. You could get further along in chewing these ideas, right? So I really wanted to chew on Flower and Song. I really wanted to chew on all this stuff of the first poets, and you know, it's like, okay, we're playing with all this stuff, and then now we're getting like eerie images.
Right, yes.
That even make me go, that's a little weird. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, and then so part of that was like me making sure that I'm not just telling myself this stuff, and I'm, John Paul Sartre has a concept of bad faith, and bad faith is when your inner monologue doesn't sync with what you actually do.
Yes.
And so that's bad faith. Yeah, and you should only be concerned with your own bad faith.
Yes.
But anyways, so I'm constantly, I mean, this is part of the punk thing, is like, and even when I say I'm from the streets, it's to signify that, like, no, I'm legit. Like, no, I really did do these things.
Right. Yes.
It's like my sense of being legit, or the sense of like honestly trying to come to the best sense of it. So anyways, the next sign for the next day was called the well. And so I kind of like, so this is before the mescaline.
Yes.
I'm going through all this thought process, doing inventory, checking myself, doing everything that I kind of like tell everybody. I'm taking my own advice.
Right.
I'm like, oh, yes. SatoriD, like, let me pay attention to what you say. Let's see.
Fancy that.
This works.
Okay.
And then so the next day is called the well.
Yes.
And where it said, and it's kind of funny, and so this is in it, the symbol of the well, and it talks about cities, and even like ancient cities, and talking about this city in China, right? So it's existed for centuries, right? And everything has changed in the city, but except for the foundation and the placement of the well.
Oh.
And it says that like all these things change, but the well that everybody comes for nourishment from, that doesn't, I forgot, it's like dissipate or whatever, like keep on taking from the well, and it doesn't run dry.
Right.
And so this is, and then it expands the metaphor to mean the heavens and the kind of like wisdom and insight overflowing. But also too, what I like about the I Ching and why I keep on going to it, it's non-dualistic. So it tells you the good part, but it also says that to be wary of constantly going to the well, kind of like for no purpose or meaning, and things like that I was picking up on. So that was interesting, and it was kind of like that thing, because later it gets turned into what I was really trying to unpack later. So I do that, and then I have some stuff that I wrote as Imaginarium well, go down to the core of flower and song. We are all golden sunflowers within. Must need the self to hear the heartbeat of the universe. Now, the needing of the self was one of the poetic messages that I got the last time when I went to what I refer to Mescaline City Blues and Mescaline City. that is all to point to the last time I took mescaline. And one of the things was like before I got to what I called Mescaline City, and I think I told you in the chat, it was like this vast galactic center that was like both ancient, like with ruins, like it was like it's like if I went to Stonehenge, but I've never been to Stonehenge, but it was like that, like awe inspiring. So I was like there, and then like I said, it felt empty, and like what's going on? Like this used to be a vast galactic center, and like now it seems forgotten. no one's been using this. This has just been sitting here. And then so then that's where I got the needing, because like I felt like cosmic love was needing my consciousness and grinding it on the wheel of time, so that I could get to was it called Ozymandias? Joseph Campbell uses that archetype a lot. His work is good, Joseph Campbell. If you want to dig into more. Books.
Actually, which one have I got? I've got the one about masks, maybe. I must go and dig it
that's
out.
a good one.
Yeah.
There's the Hero with 1,000 Faces and stuff like that. That really helps and like give you a starter kit to like work out some of the stuff.
Okay.
So anyways, and then so this is I haven't taken mescaline yet, and this is the stuff I'm writing before.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I also too want to like I think how this works too. You know, this is more mature SatoriD and not young reckless punk Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I was writing before is in tune with what I was dealing with in the altered state. So you know, I often say, you know, I don't really, in that sense too. Like sometimes when I don't smoke, it's fine as well, because like that's so ingrained in me that like I don't necessarily like stone thoughts.
Yeah.
As Daniel and Satori thoughts and all of that and regular thoughts, there's like no difference between them.
Yeah.
Like those are all harmonic in like, you know, this is what I'm writing before I take a psychedelic. So there's a lot in there before I even take it, which is I think important. And once again, one person doesn't need to do all of this, but like for me it worked in the sense like I know John C. Lilly says you don't need continuous chaos in order to grow.
Yes.
But that's why I kind of say like I'm from the streets and I learned all my shit the hard way.
Yes.
It's like I do believe that. I do believe that, but that's not how I learned it.
Yeah.
I learned it with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes. I hear you. Yeah, continuous chaos. Yeah, continuous chaos. Yeah, continuous chaos.